So how does the FXLR ST fairing compare to a traditional FXRT fairing? Let's talk about it. What's going on, YouTube? FXDLS Brooklyn is back in the building. And here we are, once again, with my Lowrider ST 2022 Battleship Gray. And one of the topics that a couple of you asked me to cover with this new bike that I'm running, shout out to Harley Davidson for giving me the bike, I'm having a blast on this thing, is comparing the ST fixed fairing to a traditional FXRT fairing. In terms of the motovloggers out there, you know, I'm pretty sure, I don't know too many other people that have as many miles on a traditional FXRT fairing that are motovlogging, so I'm pretty sure I could give you a pretty good comparison in regards to the differences, comparing and contrasting between the two fairings. Obviously, aesthetically, it's very different. Very different. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Me personally, I like it. You know, it's different enough, and the differences are also really functional. But there's a lot of other differences besides aesthetics that comes down to performance that I think is worth talking about. So let's hop on the bike and let's talk about big old touring fairings for your Dyna, FXR, or Softail. Let's fire this thing up, brother. Hell yeah. Oh, there's more deer. What's up, deer? The critters are out. The critters are out as we rip through the mountains on this sick performance machine. So yeah, like I said, I have extensive miles at this point on a traditional FXRT fairing. I do run it on my Dyna Lowrider S. I've had it on there for over 2 years. I've done multiple bike trips with it. I've put it through pretty much every possible test at this point. This modern, I guess you would call FXRT fairing, so I'm sure someone's gonna get mad at me for even saying that, but this modern rendition of the FXRT fairing is something that's still quite new to me, even though I've been putting a lot of miles on this bike. I'm not gonna act like I have multiple bike trips under my belt with this fairing, but I've put a good amount of miles on it within a bunch of different situations, so I think I could give you a good comparison. And here's the first thing, the short answer for those of you who like don't want to listen to me rant on about this, because I'll talk about this all day. Like, if you're just looking for a short answer and then you want to click out of the video, I'll do my best to provide that. And my short answer is, if you're in a situation where you're trying to decide of getting, say, a standard 2022 Lowrider S and then running a FXRT, a traditional FXRT fairing, you know, whether you go with any of the companies out there that produce that, whether it's RWD, JD, or Big Bear, there's a whole bunch of them, right? Versus just going down with the Lowrider ST itself with the modern rendition, you know, the fairing that I'm running right now. You know, if I had to tell you which one I think you should go with, I would 100% tell you to go with this. Go with the ST fairing 100%. And this is coming from somebody, again, who runs that fairing for serious miles in a lot of different riding conditions. So that's like my short answer. Like, if that was the answer you were looking for, you know, if you were like deciding, like, do I go traditional FXRT fairing and do all the modifications to run it, or do I go with an ST? That's my short answer for you. Go with the ST 100%. Now, if you're still watching this video and you want to hear my reasoning behind that, well, here it is. First and foremost, this information that I'm giving you can potentially be different depending on your, number one, height and body type, as well as your style of riding. But for me personally, you know, coming from somebody who runs predominantly Dynas and FXRs, who stacks heavy miles, does the bike trips, and is also coming in at 5'7" and 155 pounds. For me personally, like this fairing, I've said in the previous videos, the stock fairing with the windshield is perfect for me. It is 100% perfect in terms of wind deflection. The wind hits me in the perfect place. I'm getting just the right amount of wind. Like Harley Davidson, you figured it out. You must have designed this bike for me. Somehow you must have got my DNA somehow and put me through the programming when you came up with the design for this one, because again, it is perfect for me, dude. Now, for my taller people, I can't say. You know, I can't say. I'm not a tall dude. You know, but for me, median American height, it is perfecto, my friend. And the reason why I'm going to tell you that I think it's actually better than taking a traditional FXRT fairing and running that is, number one, it is the lightness and the nimbleness. So that's the first thing. It is significantly lighter, making the bike just a lot easier to throw around in really any situation, right? Super light, super nimble. That's the big one, is the performance gain, right? It's 100% a performance gain, 100%. The next reason why I would tell you to do it is this particular fairing was designed for this particular frame and this particular bike, you know? We might like to think that we know more than the engineers over at the Harley Davidson factory, but at the end of the day, dude, they know their bikes better than anybody. And this fairing is gonna fit this bike better than a aftermarket FXRT fairing is going to fit the bike, you know, unless you're putting it onto the bike that it was designed for, which is an FXR. But for my situation, right, like my Dyna, that fairing was not designed for a Dyna, so I'm not gonna like stand here and act like it's the perfect fit. It works for me, don't get me wrong, I love it and it's worked for me really well, but is it gonna flow and fit as well as this, designed for this particular bike and frame? Probably not. The next reason why I would tell you to just double down on the ST and go with this is because it's not easy to throw an aftermarket FXRT fairing onto your bike as someone who's done it. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a tremendous job to do if you're gonna do it for yourself. You better have like 3 beards of wrenching experience, you know, if you're gonna attempt it by yourself. If you're not gonna attempt it by yourself, even the shop is gonna run into issues and they're gonna have to be creative to make it happen. They definitely were for my bike, you know. Don't get me wrong, obviously it's doable, I've done it, you know, but you're gonna be throwing down money for brackets, you're gonna be, you know, potentially having to do this and that to make it work, you know. And I'm not gonna go as far as to say that you're putting a square block into a circle opening, you know, it's not that, you know, out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think it's going to be as natural a fit as the factory itself running all the trials that they're doing all the research to get this final product, which I'm on it right now, and every time I throw a leg over this bike, whatever type of riding I'm doing, I'm just blown away by the aerodynamics. It's insane, dude. Insane how this thing just glides. You know, I don't think any of my other bikes in terms of wind deflection cut through like this bike does. It's like a screaming arrow, man. So that's like the predominant reasons why I would tell you to just go the ST route, you know, coming from someone that does heavy miles on a Dyna build, on an FXRT Dyna build, right? But, you know, the drawbacks, right? The drawbacks are, well, if you put a classic FXRT build, if you do a classic FXRT build, you're gonna get that classic look. You know, obviously this particular fairing is a newer, more modern approach to that. Personally, I like it aesthetically. Some people like the other look better. I get it. They're two very different looks. So aesthetics is definitely a thing. The other thing is where it is way more nimble, 100% way more nimble, I almost feel like I also feel like I kind of get slightly less wind coverage. Not enough for me to be like, yo, I'm gonna be freezing in the winter or whatever, but it's definitely slightly less. But in the summer, you know, if you're running this bike in the hot weather, that's not a drawback. The problem with my FXRT Dyna build is I'm running a 124 engine in there, so actually it has so much wind deflection with the lowers that in the summer there's a lot of times where I'm like, dude, I kind of wish I was getting more wind right now, because I am pretty caliente, man. But what are you gonna do, man? Sometimes you gotta be pretty caliente to get pretty big horsepower. But yeah, that's how I feel about the two. At the end of the day, if you dig the look of this, then it's kind of just a no-brainer, you know? The bike itself is coming in at 22 G's. If you decide to buy, you know, a new Softail Lowrider S or whatever, at the end of the day, you're probably going to be spending at least that much to run your aftermarket RT fairing, and then you're also not going to get some of the other nice things about this bike, such as cruise control. Oh man, that's nice if you're trying to put in the miles, or you're not going to get bags that come stock. So look, y'all know the tune I've been singing. I'm definitely a huge fan of this bike, the Lowrider ST. I can't say enough good things about it, and at the end of the day, if you're someone who is doing the fairing shoot off right now, because it's a big investment, you know, especially in FXRT fairing, like it is a big investment, I get it. You know, my final advice to you would be find a buddy that has an FXRT fairing, ride the bike, right? Then go to your local Harley Davidson dealership, test ride a Lowrider ST, then promptly make your decision. So that's kind of how I feel about it in terms of the modern to retro fairing shoot off between these two. It's been a hot topic specifically of this year. And again, I'm somebody who's in both worlds. Like, I have a bike right now that has the modern, but I also have a bike that has the retro that I also very much enjoy. They're two very much different rides. But again, if we're talking about like sheer performance, you know, I do feel like at the end of the day, if like we're going on the track or whatever, this is probably gonna outperform the retro fairing, you know, just aerodynamically. And yeah, that's how I feel. It is a beautiful night out here, so I'm gonna pull over and just get some breeze for a minute. Let's see, should I go Lakeside or should I go Fieldside? Let's go Lakeside. Sorry, I shouldn't say Lakeside. Let's go Reservoir side. All right. Slow speed maneuvers, brother. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's another thing, man. That's a separate video. It's super easy to just move this thing around in the slow speed because of, again, this bike sits so much lower, so I'm like flat-footed all the damn time on this bike. This bike's really good if you're not the tallest dude, I'll tell you that much. All right. We are pulling up to the Never Sink Reservoir. My oh my, life is cool. So look, if y'all have any questions, let me know. It has been a common question. So whether you're running a retro RT fairing or whether you're going modern right now like me, stay safe and stay low. Outride your demons, practice a positive mental attitude, and on that, FXDLS Brooklyn is out.